I'm Tom Johnson, Thomas Johnson Antique Furniture Restoration in Gorham, Maine. You'd be forgiven for thinking this is a small table, but it's actually a stool. Stools like this were very popular like in the 17th century. Back then, each household, even rich households, may have only had one or two chairs reserved for the head of household. Everyone else sat on stools. They come in different heights. A lot of them are made of oak. This one certainly appears to be very old. It's got mortise and tenon joints held together by pegs. If you turn it over, it certainly appears to be very old. They've been making these stools for a long time, so it's tough to identify exactly how old they are. This one seems to be old, looks old. One hint might be the tongue and groove joints on this top. That might be a hint to its age. I'm going to have to try to research that. So the stool is very loose, so we want to reglue it and then figure out a good way to just sort of revive the finish a bit. It's looking a little beat. You can really see that here. Yeah, this one doesn't go through. One of those pegs was broken, but looking in here, that where it stopped is the tenon, I believe. Boy, this one's not budging. I don't know what that is. Maybe a nail or something. Can't tell. Well, I'll finish taking out the rest of the pegs and figure that one out later. I should have removed the top first. It doesn't make that much difference, but. Just one peg, but then a couple of modern nails. These pieces that have been coming out must be shims in the tenons. I'll find out in a second. Yeah, this piece, it must have come out of there. It didn't break off of the tenon. I wonder why this extra hole is here. There's no corresponding hole. It must have just been in here somewhere. So I'll start by gluing up the two sides that have the stretcher.
Yeah, this gives us a better idea of where these shims were placed. Interesting, this tenon 2 has multiple holes drilled in it. This shim covered that hole. You know, there's no corresponding holes here. Now this is that one that wouldn't come apart. So yeah, neither of these pegs came out because there's no hole on the other side. They weren't drilled through. This is where I was banging it with a dowel. I thought there was a hole there, but there wasn't. You can see all the space in this tenon. There's that big shim down there. I think all these tenons are like that. I don't know what that means. But anyway, I'll glue this without taking it apart.
All right, now I'll do the other side.
It's difficult to figure out where the old shims were. I'm trying to reuse them. But you know, you can, like this one lines up like that. I'll try to get it back in the same place.
Okay, I'll let these two sections dry overnight, and tomorrow we'll glue the stretcher and the side rails. So I'm ending up with veneer for this one, but I know these other shims I'm going to replace, I'll definitely need that thicker stock.
Good.
All right, good. Let it dry overnight. Okay, so now I can put the pegs back in. You know, I glued all these joints, and almost certainly originally it was not glued. It was just held together by the pegs, but we need it to be sturdy. But I won't use glue to put the pegs back in case someone has to take them out again. I've got to drill some of these because I put new shims inside. And I'm making sure my drill bit is smaller than the outside hole here because these holes are square.
I've got to try to match the peg up with the hole, the right orientation. You know, they're not square exactly. That looks about right.
Now we can install the top.
The top is made up of 3 boards. They've got these tongue and groove joints. They were held on originally by 4 pegs. These are modern wire nails.
Now I'm not going to glue these boards up or anything. They've shrunk. If you did that, the top wouldn't fit. They were never glued together in the first place anyway. In fact, the stool was never glued together. I've glued it because it needs to be sturdy to be used. But this will just put back, the top will just put back. I've got to get these pegs and nails, you know, all lined up. I think I really have to kind of do it at the same time. The centerpiece was easy. The end pieces are a little tougher to get lined up. Well, I can see where, you know, the nails hold, where the nails go. I think I'll scrape a little bit of the gras doux off these joints, back these nails up a little bit, and then just get this thing back to where it goes. Maybe I can back the pegs out a little bit too. Try it.
I don't want the peg to come out. I don't want to lose that orientation with the hole. That's what I was afraid of. I'm not going to back these nails out. I'm going to glue this chip down right now before I go any further.
I won't have to leave the clamp on for long. By the time I get the other pieces ready, I can take it off.
So this nail hole, quite obvious, goes there.
Now I'm not finding the nail hole here, but apparently the nail went right into the joint. So I'll loosen this peg. I've got one nail started. I'll get the peg started, and then this nail can go wherever it wants to go. Well, the peg wouldn't line up, which made me realize that had I turned this whole thing upside down, I would have realized that this section goes over here. Same situation though, got a nice nail hole here, and then this nail goes into the joint. So same thing, get this nail hole, get this peg, and then that will end up wherever it wants to be. Yeah, just want to get this started because I still have to and get the other sections on. Okay, I still got to get the center pegs lined up. Well, I can see now I made a classic mistake. When I glued the base up, well, it wanted to be square, and I checked and made sure it was square, but I think it was never square before because now these boards won't line up. So I'm going to take these side pieces off, push the nails through, get rid of those so they aren't in the way, and keep these two pegs. They seem to be located just right, and I'll relocate these boards so that it lines up. So when I reinstall this top, the peg's going to be in a slightly different place, so I've got to plug that hole. Now's an opportunity to close this gap if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. I'm going to leave a gap. It's January, the humidity is in the 20s, so you leave a little gap there. Maybe it'll be tight in the summertime. All right, so now what to do about the nail holes? Obviously we could always fill the nail holes, which I will do, but in the meantime, because these end sections are just held by one peg, they can pivot. More often than not, I put nails back into nail holes if I think they might do some good. I mean, why not? The hole's there already. In this case, they are doing some good. They're going to keep these two end pieces from pivoting and keep the crack in the middle even. Now, everywhere there's a peg, if there's any space around the peg, I'm going to fill it in with a wax stick. As hard as I tried to get these pegs back in, there's still quite a few of them, little spaces around here and there. And I'll just use a rub-in wax stick, same kind you get at your local hardware store. On the top I'll use these low heat
burning sticks that I usually use with the hot knives.
Alright, and now for the final, I'm going to wax it. I'm going to use this brie wax because I happen to have, it's dark brown. And I figure that's going to help this oak and help this. So I'm going to apply it with steel wool. So, there you have it. A really nice 17th century stool. And of course it's going to be used as a table, but it's nice to know you can sit on it if you need to. And basically, there wasn't really anything wrong with it. I just took it apart, put it back together. I did glue it together so that it's sturdy, because it was not sturdy at all. And a nice wax, and I think it looks pretty good.